Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and today I have with me Sabine Kvenberg. Welcome to the show, Sabine.
Oh, thank you for having me, Melissa. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here today too and sharing your health story. But first, I just want to introduce you to the audience. Sabine is a communication and confidence coach with decades of experience working with people from all walks of life to overcome their fear of public speaking and being on camera. Sabine was an actress and director in Europe for 10 years before moving to the US to open a performing arts school that she has operated for 27 years. Many of her students got started in the entertainment industry. And today she helps entrepreneurs craft their celebrity signature message to stand out and put their business into the spotlight. I love this work. It sounds super fascinating. And I also love that you have a health story yourself that you approached me about sharing with my audience, because you know that I love to do that to inspire people and give them hope that they too can heal on their health journey. So please just give me a little bit of a background and share your story.
Sure. Um, what really started for me, the health journey that I'm on, and of course, it's always an on and off and a little derailing, right? But I was newly married, and so we were just about to start a family. We were very busy, both we were directors, we were traveling the world. And then the first hit was that my mother passed away very, very suddenly. And
And quite
my
young,
husband,
I'm assuming, as well.
yes, she was 59.
You're very young.
And it's very hard to believe, especially because I'm already older than she was when she passed away. And so that was really a shock for me. And
Mhm.
after we went through that experience, I'm buried here. My husband was on his way back to Africa, where he worked at the time. And I went to saw my gynecologist to get my regular checkup. And then he informed me that I have a growing on my uterus as big as an orange, and we need to operate right away. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Can I ever have a family? And it was really a experience for me as a young woman who still wanted to have children. And he informed me I may never have children. And so I went into a deep spiral down mentally.
Yes.
And my husband was already on the way, and I called him and he said, I'm coming right back. I said, no, go, but come back when I'm out of the hospital. So I myself checked myself into the hospital and went through the whole thing. And as you know, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, your mother's always on your side, no
Yes.
matter what happens.
Yes.
But there she wasn't there.
Right.
And then something happened. I had a book that I grabbed a couple of days prior. It's called The Bach Flower Remedies.
Mm.
And a friend recommended it to me. And I never, said, yeah, okay. But for some reason, 2 days before I was checked into the hospital, I saw this book and I said, I have to get it. And after my surgery, I started reading that book. And yes, if any of your listeners are familiar with, some homeopathic remedies and the power of nature, let me put it that very, very simple, that we can tap into. That's what the Bach remedies are all about. But there was something more to it. And I really feel that this has a lot to do with our healing, not just physically, but also emotionally. Because
Hmm.
at the end, our emotional body and our physical body are connected.
Absolutely.
And one day after my surgery, I was laying in the hospital bed, and I still remember it, Melissa, like it was
Yeah.
yesterday. And this has been like 35 years ago or so. And I was laying in pain, but I was reading the book, and there was just something about the spiritual aspect of it, right? That Dr. Bach, who wrote this book and who created those remedies, was really guided by God, as he says it, and to 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 get those Bach flowers. And all that chapter about, you know what, there is something higher out there.
Hmm.
And yeah, I grew up, in a Christian family, but we were not church goers, but
Right.
I always knew there was something higher. So that afternoon I was looking out of the window, and I felt that overwhelming peace coming over me. I was smiling, and I knew everything was okay. And from that moment on, my journey was quite different.
I bet. I bet. And you are so right that our physical bodies and our emotional bodies are connected. And I also like to say, so are our spiritual and our mental bodies. We have the four bodies.
Yes.
And I'm familiar with homeopathic treatments and the Bach flower remedies. I used to have a homeopathic doctor actually years ago in my late teens, early 20s when I was living in Australia. Um, and again, there's so many different ways that we can heal. And I love that you found that way. A friend recommended the book, you didn't act on it right away, but 2 days before your surgery, there it was. You didn't even go searching for it from the sound of the story. There it
No.
was, because that was also whatever you want to call it, but some intervention, spiritual intervention, making sure you got what you needed in order for you to be able to find the answer to your healing. And you were open to it.
Hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I still had to go through the physical healing. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, we were never able to have children. However, I was okay with that, because your path will direct you in different ways. And also the passing of my mother was one of the catalysts for me to finally decide, I'm ready now to move to the US. My husband is American,
Right.
and he lived and we worked in Germany, in Europe. And so there was this, where do we live, right?
Right.
But now I was ready, because my mother was gone, and I
Mm-hmm.
just needed that change. But what happened is quite interesting. That move allowed us to open our own business, and that was a performing arts school. And Melissa, during the 27 years, and especially, of course, the first years, I was very intense within my business.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, we had thousands of children through
Yes.
our lifetime, right?
Yes.
So, and we still have connections with some of them. We are like the surrogate parents
Parents.
to them.
Yes.
Who would have known,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. And you also alluded to something that I believe very strongly in, which is everything happens for a reason. And when we're in the moment, we don't necessarily understand that.
Mm.
But once we come through whatever it is that's happened, that's kind of thrown a curveball into where we thought we were going, or our path as we thought we had it laid out, when we come through that curveball to the other side with clarity of the new path, we can also start to look back with that perfect 2020 hindsight with gratitude for that curveball.
Yes, yes. And when we realize that, and obviously, what you mentioned, we look back in hindsight, then we can really pull the wisdom from our experiences to put it into the future, which I often do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I recently had somebody on the show who was a two-time cancer thriver. And she did exactly that. She learned so much through the first experience that when the second cancer diagnosis came, the experience was so different because she was immediately able to apply everything she learned from the first time.
Yes, yes. And in addition, you start evaluating your life and you evaluate what you do to your body and with your body.
Yes.
And that really put me also on the trajectory of living a healthy lifestyle. And as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned at the beginning, do we always do it 100%? Absolutely not.
I don't
But
even teach 100%. I don't even ask people to do that because we are all human. Therefore, we are not perfect.
yes,
Therefore, we can't do 100% without setting ourselves up for failure. And when
yes,
we set ourselves up for failure, what's the point of that? So I always teach the 80-20 rule. And our body can thrive when we feed it 80% of the time the way it needs to be fed or looked after, not just nutrition in, but exercise and ensuring there's not too many toxins, all of these factors. And
yes.
20% of the time, we might not make the best decisions for our health, but it might be a good decision for our mental health in the sense that we're somewhere celebrating with family and friends, and we choose to eat foods that maybe we normally wouldn't, but we're there celebrating, and why not?
Right, right. Absolutely. But also, where I am in the stage of my life now, I am also more cautious and more aware of the things we cannot control, and a lot
Absolutely.
of things, the air that we breathe, and also some of the food. If we go out, especially
Mm-hmm.
when we eat out,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what's in there, how it's being prepared. I mean, we try our best to do everything organic and humanely raised meat when we eat meat. But there's another thing that I recently actually got into, and that is really understanding what intermittent fasting
Mm-hmm.
is and what it does.
Yes.
I heard about it and it made sense, but until I really followed a certain holistic doctor who explained it in a way, I mean, my eyes were opened
Mm-hmm.
and said, "Oh my God, it makes so much sense." We were we were so programmed from childhood. You have to have your 3 meals and you have to clean your plate and whatnot. But that's not how humans survived. There was always that feast, what we talked
Yes.
about, but then we're also the fast,
Yes.
where our body can rejuvenate and get into this healing process. And actually breaking down old cells, if we don't have that food, and repair them, which
Mm-hmm.
our body is not able to do otherwise. So I'm
Yes.
so fascinated by that. And also just recently got back on, you know what? I want to get back on track with my health because, as we all know, the past couple of years was very challenging sitting inside and with all that stress that came along with that. I don't even want to say the word, but it was worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So I gained some unwanted weight and just didn't feel good. So now I'm on that path. And it really works and I feel fantastic.
I love that. And I love a few things that you've said there. I am a big advocate for intermittent fasting, as long as it's not too many hours of a day, so especially for women, because if we intermittent fast for too long, we can actually put our body into the stress mode. And over the course of time, that can cause an imbalance in our hormones. However, I find 12 to 14 hours per day, every day, is a great amount of fasting time that our body can handle without going into the stress mode. I like to also fast 1 day a week for 24 hours. And that's just the 1 day a week. And that's where my body's doing the cellular cleanup, as you're talking
Mhm.
about. And when I run my detox programs, we fast 2 days a week for 3 weeks in a row. And
Mhm.
and that's the first time people do it. And then on a quarterly basis, we do a 7 day detox every quarter because the toxins are always coming in. So we want to always get them back out, right?
Yes,
And these are the
yes.
things we can't control, but we can still make better choices, right? We can't control the toxins getting onto our skin through our airways. We can control the toxins getting onto our skin through our personal care products, and we can make different choices around the products that we use. And
Mhm.
so that's where we have more choice as our awareness increases. And
Mhm.
as the awareness increases and we make better choices, we're enhancing our health journey all along. So I love that you shared all of that. And yes, the benefits of intermittent fasting to our energy levels, to our liver's ability to function, it's a reset for our entire body. And
Mhm.
we have got into a place in society, especially in North America, and especially over the last few years, where we were all at home and the refrigerator's right there, that we're
Mhm.
just eating constantly. And the last meal hasn't even finished being digested before the next meal goes in. And when we're in digestion mode, we're not in cleanup mode or
No.
autophagy, which is what we get to with the intermittent fasting. And
Mhm.
so I love that you've discovered that and you're actively participating in it and experiencing the benefits of it, because it is so very helpful. I'm not a proponent of the people who do like 20 hours of fasting and only 4 hours of eating, because that's putting a whole lot of food into the body in a short amount of time for the
Yes.
body to have to cope with. And it kind of puts the body into overwhelm at that time. But we're also putting the body into overwhelm when we're demanding mental energy and physical energy and we haven't put any food in. That's what puts us in the stress state. And sometimes we humans think that if something's good, we should do more of it. And that's not always true, which is why I want to share the science,
Yeah.
with that information that I have in all of my research about ensuring that for women in particular, we stay between 12 to 14 hours.
And to add to that, Melissa, uh, each person is different.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on where you are and how much weight you have, how much
Yes,
fat
absolutely.
reserves you have, right?
Absolutely.
So if this is the reason because you want to lose the fat, because
Mm-hmm.
that's basically it's not necessarily weight, but fat, which
Yes,
is good. And if you do this under, supervision, very well, it doesn't matter of man or woman, but again make it with supervision
yes,
to do a few days, but don't do it like forever. So
right.
it really is depending on each person's body
Starting
type
point.
and
Yes,
at any point. Yeah, yeah.
yes. You're absolutely correct. There is bio individuality there. Absolutely. And so, yes, under supervision very much helps so that
Yeah,
you can get
yeah.
that guidance as to where you start and what your body can tolerate. So I
Hmm.
love that. What else do you love to do to ensure that you are living the healthy lifestyle that you want to be living for yourself and for your health span?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned before, exercise is a very important part. And again, it depends on where you are at the stage of your life. So I'm in the later stage of my life. And one of the things that I also discovered is very, very healthy is walking. And I watched some documentaries about walking, and there's like some studies done in Germany about the benefits and what it does to your body and for your body. So I'm making sure I walk every day. And I do a little bit of weight training too, because we need to keep our muscles and our bodies strong. And I also use something, it's a very new technology that helps my body, or helps a body to um, activate stem cells.
Mm.
And that's like the big thing. And I was looking into it with a friend. It's like, it's very expensive, but I found something that is non-invasive, and it's not something that is manipulating like a specific stem cells. No, it's activating your own. And I know you have to keep activating your stem cells if you want to stay active in your life, because when you turn 60, you have maybe 20% left, and 70, you have maybe none left. And that's where people age and not heal so well. So I looked into that, and that's a big part of my staying fit and healthy and young.
I love that. I love that. I just love it when I meet people that recognize that their health is their greatest asset and they choose to be proactive in it. And there's so many ways that we can do that. Yes, it takes an investment, but you actually pay now or you pay later.
Yes.
And the pay later is a far greater expense. And I say this over and over again, but I'm going to keep saying it because there's always new listeners.
Yes.
And that is that the average North American right now is spending the last 10 years of their life in a nursing home. 10 years. That is a long time.
Yes.
Imagine what you could do with those 10 years if you had your mobility, you had your health. You could be traveling, you could be enjoying your children or your grandchildren, etc. Right? You could
Mhm.
be volunteering. There's so many things you could be doing. And when people retire and they, get to that next phase of their life, when they're thinking about retiring, nobody puts on their retirement plan, I hope to spend 10 years in a nursing home.
Right, right. For sure.
And yet that's what's happening. And that is very expensive. Right now, the cost of 1 year is 108,000 US dollars. And by
Yeah,
2030, that's expected to be 141,000 US dollars. And that doesn't even include your medical costs. That's just your room and board and meals.
yeah, yeah.
So you can pay that then, or if you can't pay it or your children paying it, who's paying for it? Right?
Mhm.
I know people who can't afford to put their parents in a nursing home, so they bring their parents into their home. And then they have to quit their job because they have to be the full-time carer. So there's
Yeah,
still a cost
yeah.
versus invest in your health now, like you do, like I do, so that you do have your health and your mobility for years to come. And hopefully you never even need to be in a nursing home.
Right. And it's so true what you say. Oftentimes people think, oh my gosh, this supplementation or this addition cost me like $100 or whatever it may be, right? But then they just, what I see with people is just how you allocate your
Mhm.
funds, right?
Exactly.
And if you really start thinking about what you pay eating out, buying some of the crappy stuff, right?
Mhm.
Just don't do it. And put it into your health. Get the right supplementation, the right equipment, whatever you need to have to stay healthy. And it's up to each one of us
Yes,
to take the responsibility to find out, to talk with people, to do some research and do what's good for you.
exactly. Exactly. And nobody else can do it for you.
Right.
You have to do it for you. And you also can't make your spouse do it if they don't want to do it, right?
No.
You can only worry about you. You can lead by example.
Hmm.
I love it when young people come and work with me and learn all of this because then I know their children are just going to naturally learn it.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right.
And it has that generational ripple effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even adults now that come and are learning this, and they might have young children in the home or teenagers in the home, those children and teens can start to learn this as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
for my generation and your generation, I think we're pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't taught this. Like, I
Right.
had to go back to health coaching school to learn this after my life threw me a curveball, and that's where it guided me. And I got there and went, why don't I know this about my own body?
Right.
But I loved learning it. And I realized I'd found my passion, I'd found my purpose, and I could now bring this and share this with others, which is why I have this podcast. So
Yeah.
that people can just tune in and listen and implement small things in their lives that enhance their health and have more awareness and make better choices.
And I love what you do. You do such a great service. And even though I'm not a health coach, but because what I know, I also know it's important to share it, no matter in what capacity. You don't have to become a health coach necessarily to also share what you know, if this is
Absolutely.
something, um, and but as you said, you cannot make anybody do anything. And even if you want to give it, so I recently went to Germany and visited a family member, and um, he had to go through surgery, and I knew I had something in my hand that would help him to recover faster. But it was not a medication. It didn't come from a doctor. It was something alternative. And nope, nope. It's not
Yep.
even, you want to give it to them as a gift, right? Because you
Yes.
care. But it doesn't make a difference if the person is not ready.
Exactly. Exactly. I reached out to somebody lately or very recently that I know that has just recently had a diagnosis of cancer. And I reached out and I don't just start sending them all my resources. I just reached out and said, "Hey, since we last connected, I've actually completely retrained and this is what I'm doing now, and I have a lot of resources that may be of interest to you
Mm-hmm.
if you would like them."
Mm-hmm.
And then I leave it at that. And it's up to them as to whether they would like to seek that information,
Yeah. Yeah.
because each person has to come to it when they're ready. Just like you didn't rush out and buy the book when you were
Right.
first told about it,
Right.
but you did get it when
Mhm.
you needed it
Yes. And when I was ready, and
and when
that's
you were
exactly
ready.
right. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, I really love that you're willing to come on, to various podcasts and to come on to my show here and share your story, because people just need to know, they need to hear other people's stories. So
Mm-hmm.
often people are told, there's nothing we can do for you. Here's a pill and you have to take this for the rest of your life. Or there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. And I love to share with my audience that if you just find the one person that has healed themselves from whatever it is that you're struggling with, then you know it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And once you know it can be done, that gives you new hope. And that allows your healing process to begin, because
Yes.
our mind is so powerful that if we believe we can't heal, we won't.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have hope and we believe we can because somebody else did it, then we can.
Yes.
And it re energizes us to seek out the support, the guidance, people who can show us the way. And
Mm-hmm.
that too is really important, because when we're in a stressed out state, the body doesn't heal. So if we don't know where to get the help from, we're still feeling stressed. But once we have that help and we're guided through, we can get out of that state. Just
Yeah.
like you got that book, you were reading it in the hospital, and just that gave you that peace and that calm to let you know that everything would be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter in what area of life. We're talking about, obviously, about health, but it also depends on the path that you want to take. And I work a lot with entrepreneurs that they want to do their shift in
Mhm.
life, right?
Yeah,
Leaving a job that they don't like, or even a business that consumes them, to do something that is more for their freedom lifestyle. Yeah. But the thing is, oftentimes people don't do it because of their mindset,
yes,
because they don't believe in it, or they don't have someone to guide them in the right direction and supports them. So you always need somebody that has been there, that can guide you. And once you do this, you will get where you want to go so much faster.
absolutely. Because they've already figured out all the pitfalls along the way and they can guide you around them.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct there, Sabine. And I love the work that you do helping, people overcome their fear of public speaking because that allows people to share their story.
Yes.
And then that story reaches the ears of the person that needed to hear it.
So true, so true. And with that said, we as human beings communicated for thousands of years through stories. We
Absolutely.
passed on wisdom through stories. And
Yes.
when people understand that, it's such a powerful tool. And no matter if you're an entrepreneur and want to share your message, if you are a parent, if you are a healthcare provider, whatever you do, if you incorporate stories, you can communicate so much better, and another person may hear what you have to say.
Exactly. So, in some of my recent training in the last few years, I've been really tapping into hypnotherapy and NLP and timeline therapy and the power of the unconscious mind.
Hmm.
And the unconscious mind is all imagination. And it's kind of like a toddler, 2 to 5 years old,
Yes.
and loves stories. And it's the other 90% of our mind that we don't consciously think of. But it's so much bigger than our conscious mind. And so, yes, when we're sharing stories, we actually are absorbing so much more because we're engaging the unconscious mind.
Right. It's so interesting that you said that, because when I work with my clients, I also use the manifestation to it. So if they want to reach a certain goal,
Mhm.
so we have to manifest that. And how can we do this? Through imagination. So through
Exactly.
meditation and just kind of, I have one talk that I gave. It's really going back, what I call back to the future. So going
Love it.
back to the past
Yes,
to know, oh, this is how it worked for me in the past or someone else. Then take it to the present moment and then project it to the future. So with that present moment activities, oh my gosh, you can get your future right here, right now.
exactly. So true. And it sounds very similar to my timeline therapy work. So, again, I love that we're so
Oh,
aligned with all of this. And
different areas, but it's all connected.
exactly. And so powerful. And I use it myself. And in fact, I was recently in a competition, and it was a two-part competition. And I got through part one, and 20 of us were selected. And then we had to submit a video and an essay about why we would be great um, winners of this competition. And I loved doing that process. I worked with my unconscious mind. I even checked with my pendulum. Do I need to make any edits or changes to this? No, everything was fine. I submitted it. Today, I found out that I one of the top 5 winners. So there's 5 winners.
Ooh, fantastic.
Now, yeah, I'm super excited. You're the first person I've told because there's no one home in my house to tell. And I was asked not to publicly announce this because the public announcement would come on June 26th. Well, this
Mhm.
podcast episode doesn't come out until way later, September 9th. So it'll be perfectly public by then. So I'm
Right.
okay with sharing this now, but I manifested that.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted that and I envisioned it and saw myself receiving that email. I knew this week it was coming out. I thought about it every day. I thought about it in the first part of the competition. And I could visualize it and see that happening.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And
Well,
that is the
congratulations.
power. That is the power of our mind when we know how to work with our whole mind.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yes, I'm super excited. This can be done.
It can be done. Definitely.
And so, really, what you did all those years ago was you manifested your health at a
Mm-hmm.
time when you didn't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You also used resources that were available to you, but your mindset was on health.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you manifested your health.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've manifested many things since then as well. And I love that you teach your clients how to do that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I love it. So, thank you so much for coming on the show today, sharing your wisdom and just giving, a really heartfelt, authentic story of your journey that somebody else needs to hear. And so, I love to ask all of my guests, what does don't wait for your wake up call mean to you?
That means live today, living out loud. And for that, I just have to go back in the past real quick because I was not on that journey of doing what I love to do, being an actress. I started as a claim adjuster because I followed the advice of my dad, who really
Mm-hmm.
meant good, right? But I was so unhappy. But the one thing that I knew back then, and if anybody can take that away, is I knew I didn't want to look back 40 years from that time, asking myself, why didn't at least give it a try to do what I love to do? So, and that was the deciding moment for me to say, I don't want to look back and have regrets.
Yes,
That's when I started. So this really is was my wake up call.
I love that. And to choose a life of no regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. There's a book called, I have it on my bookshelf somewhere. Apollo Ono, I wrote it. And I think it's Zero Regrets. I can see
Yeah,
it right there. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
might enjoy that book if you haven't read it. So thank you. Yes, I love how your wake up call gave you something to live every single day of your life by. And it wasn't really a negative wake up call. It was just a wake up call that you could
Mm-hmm.
do something differently, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And why not give that a try? And so often fear will hold us back. We allow it to get in the way because it's the fear of the unknown, or what if I don't make it? What
Mm-hmm.
if you do?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What if you do?
Right,
So
right.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And Sabina, you are such a gem. If people are listening to this and they want to work with you because they just have really connected with you here, how can people get hold of you? And I know you've also generously offered a free gift. Please share that.
Absolutely. They can get a hold of me on my website is my name, sabinekvenberg.com. And if you put in /resources, sabinekvenberg.com // resources, there are some free gifts for you. And one of them, and I will give you the direct link, is if you want to schedule a free strategy session with me, I'm happy to hop on a call with you.
Thank you. That is so, so generous. And I do have that link, and I have all of that in the show notes. So people will be able to find you. Thank you so very much. And is there any last tip you would like to leave the audience with as we wrap up this episode?
Well, always know life is short, so you better make everything of it today. Don't wait. Live today. Live out loud, be healthy, and enjoy life.
I love that saying, live out loud. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your journey, your wisdom, your tips with us, as well as your gifts. And I just so appreciate you coming today. And I want to thank my audience for tuning in each and every week and sharing these episodes with people that you know need to hear them.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me. It was such an honor and blessing.
My pleasure. Are you a practitioner or a coach listening to this? If so, I would love to ask you, do you use hypnotherapy in your practice working with clients? And if not, would you like to? The power of hypnotherapy is limitless. And so often we experience our clients struggling to reach their goals. It's because they're coming up against their own brick walls and getting stuck. But you can help them through the power of hypnosis break through all of that, working with their unconscious mind to put the suggestions in to have them taking the action to achieve the results that they want. They are thrilled with your coaching techniques. They're getting the results they want. You feel amazing because you are helping your client get the results they want. It's a win-win. And another win is that it's an added revenue stream for you in your business. So if you like the feel of helping your clients get the results they want, if you like the sound of that, then definitely reach out, Melissa at yourguidedhealthjourney.com, or click the Linktree link below for my Unlimited Power of Hypnosis class to learn more. It's a weekend designation program that I teach, valid in 42 countries. You write an exam after taking the experiential course, and you can be admitted to the American Board of Hypnotherapy and start using hypnotherapy one-to-one with your clients and have them achieving the results they want.